Hello, everyone, and welcome to this, which is our final show of the year to this Mike Ames Recruitment Show, where we're going to be talking about 4 zero-cost ways to boost profits and reduce stress. Basically, how to make more revenue for yourself in a sluggish economy. And we are very excited about that. Now, today, I'm obviously joined by Mike Ames, who, for those of you on the podcast, is a very big Santa Claus right now.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm going to take this off because it's really itching me now. So.
Yeah. And of course, I'm joined by our special guest. The whole team's here today. Pete's here today. Hi, Pete.
Hello, everybody. Delighted to be here.
Now, I was led to believe if I came on the show, there'd be sherry. Is that right?
Well, there is now because you're here, Mike, and you've got sherry. I can't help but notice.
And mince pies because it is Christmas, isn't it? Mrs. Ames's mince pies there. So I'll be having those later. Going to give Peter a chance to talk about some random things when I'm going to eat mince pies.
Oh, I'm sure people were very excited about hearing that. Now, for those, unfortunately, for those on the podcast, isn't going to be great, but you will see that we are wearing our Christmas jumpers. It's our annual competition about who has the best Christmas jumper. So we'll start with Mike. Mike, do you want to share your Christmas jumper? It's lovely, Rudolph.
It had lights on it, but I broke the lights this morning, so.
Dear Lord. Okay. Pete, do you want to share yours? What your Christmas jumper is?
I think I can do this.
Oh, right. There you go. Oh, it says to the pub. I like that. Okay, fair enough.
That's what Christmas is all about.
We all know, ladies and gentlemen, who the winner is because that's right. Nakatomi Plaza Christmas Party. And I don't want any naysayers telling me that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. Okay, I will get into it with you in the comments. But let us know your thoughts. Who do you think's got the best Christmas jumper this year? Let us know. Okay, but Mike, as we're here today, we are talking about 4 zero-cost ways to boost profits and reduce stress. Why are we talking about that in today's show?
Okay, let me tell you what we're going to talk about, why we're going to talk about it. We've got 12 things for you. Now, it'd be great if I could just say, look, do this, and suddenly your profits will go up, but it doesn't work like that, as we all know. To increase productivity, to reduce stress is a matter of small things added together. So what we tried to do today is come up with things that are easy, small, no cost associated with any of them, that when you add them together should have an effect. That's what we're looking for. So it's not big, complicated things, which is what you'd expect to increase profits. And usually that's what happens. No, we're going for small iterations, small things that you can just go, yep, I'm going to go that. All I want you to do is come away with, of the 12 that we've got, 2 or 3 that you think, you know what, I'm going to do that. And at the end, Kirsty's going to make a note because we will forget. At the end, we'll just ask you to put in the comments which one of the tips we came up with resonated the most with you. I'd be very interested to see. So please do keep a note as we go through.
Okay. Amazing. Right. So as we mentioned, we've got 12 tips today and they are broken up into 3 areas. But before we get into that, Mike, there's one thing that you think kind of encompasses everything we're about to talk about.
Yes, I do. Right. So I did put it in the post today, if anyone read it, but it's this question of mentality. I deal with a lot of recruitment companies, owners, and there's one thing I see a lot of, and it's so damaging. And you're going to think I'm all being a bit happy-clappy, crystals and all that sort of stuff, moods and things. No, it is this concept of mentality, recruiter mentality and owner mentality. They're very different. The vast majority of people that own recruitment companies have a recruiter mentality because that's where they came from. That was how they were introduced into business, and that's what their success has been down to the fact that they think and act very much like a recruiter. However, in truth, that's damaging when you're trying to grow a business. Now, for me personally, I went through a process in 92, 93, where I transitioned from being a recruiter who owned a business to being a business owner that did recruitment. Massive difference between those two. And it wasn't just because of this reason, but just to give you an indication as to what happened. We went from 0 to 5 million in 5 years. I had this transition, took me 22 months in total to do the whole thing. The next 5 years, we went from 5 million to 40 million turnover, like that. A big proportion of that was because not just me, but my team thought more like owners and therefore began to act more like owners. So what I'd like to do is just very quickly, Kirsty, bring up the difference between the two. So this is just to think about. And I'd like next year, if you take this seriously, and I did say this in the post as well, I reckon this is worth more than all the other tips added together, if you can implement it properly, honestly. And yet I know I'm only speaking to a fraction of the people watching this show. Can you get on with the tips? Get on with the tips. I don't want any of this stuff. Honestly, this is where it's at. This is the shizzle. All right, here we go then. So this is how a recruiter sees short term. Well, you have to be short term. Today, tomorrow, this week, this month, that's pretty much it. Your entire focus is in the short term. When it comes to making decisions, they're very tactical, reactive. That's happened. Let's do this. Let's do that. You don't have the time to hang about. You need to deal with issues. You need to pounce on possibilities and opportunities. Otherwise, you know that you'll lose. You snooze, you lose. Very much a focus on results, because if you come second, you don't eat. Got to win, and that's like a big thing. I get it. Usually, and I've seen this in quite large companies actually, the largest company I ever dealt with is a £20 million business, contract business, and the owner he wasn't on the tools anymore, but his mentality was deeply rooted in recruitment, and he did focus very much on what he was doing, what it was all about him. Cost. Now, I get it. You can't make a decision without saying, can I afford that? And you absolutely should. But that's not, for business owners, the main decision-making criteria. And then following is revenue. I often get this when I ask people, what are you going to do next year? Well, we're going to do this much in fees or that much in fees, or we're going to boost the headcount to this or that or the other. I get it. But that is all recruiter mentality. Let's compare that now, if we can, with owner mentality. So their field of vision is much longer term. At the end of the year, end of 3 years, maybe longer even. They're thinking about that and beginning to shape the business to go in the direction that they want. They're not tactical, they're strategic. They're thinking of big movements that they can put in place in order to shift the business from where it is to where they want it to be. Then they're not focused on results in the same way, they're focused on improvement. Right? I'm going to put a caveat on all of this in a second, but improvement where every aspect of the business gets better. It's about the team now, not them. And that's so important. It doesn't matter what you do really individually. What matters is you get your team to be able to do. And then cost, no, it's about return on investment. You know, I've heard a few people saying, I'm not spending that, it's too much. What are you going to get back from it? Well, I'm going to get this, that, and the other. Isn't it worth it? Well, it might be, but I'm not spending that because it's too much. Cost is the main driver. By the way, you should definitely ask yourself, can you afford this before you spend it? I'm not saying you shouldn't. And lastly, profit's the only thing that matters. If I ask you the question, what are you going to do next year? You answer, oh, I'm going to make this much profit. That's the thing that matters. Yes, you might need to hire people. Fair enough, you might not. But as you can see from that screen, and I'm going to come off and get into the tips now, but that you do need both if you're in a small business. You need both hats. You need to be all those things down the left-hand side. Disappeared now. You need to be all those things down the left-hand side when you're making money. The bigger your business gets, though, the less of that you must do, and the more of the long-term stuff that you must do, the ownership. It's a big deal, I know, and it might not seem it, but it really is hard to transition from the two. And we get this now, Pete, don't we, where we talk about things and people revert back to being like recruiters when it's a business decision.
Yeah, it's a struggle. And I mean, you know, most people are fighting 10 years plus of indoctrination, you know, and it's not just the businesses they're in, it's a lot of the terminology, it's a lot of what's discussed, you know, on LinkedIn and other platforms. It's this recruiter mentality. But I think what's most telling is, you know, when we do our summit and stuff, we put up our best testimonials with our most successful clients. And I think almost 100%, I think there's one that doesn't, almost all of them speak about Mike helped me think like an owner. And if you think about all the things we've done with them, all the BD campaigns, all the marketing shizzle that we've done with them and systemization, that's the one that at the end they come back to and look back on and say was the big difference. Because some of these people were 2 years later. So I absolutely agree. But I think the thing is, how long do you think it takes to make that transition? How long does it take?
It took me 22 months, but yeah. It wasn't linear. It wasn't like 22 months I was a recruiter, 21 months and 22 months I suddenly became a business owner. Each month you become a little bit more. You
start thinking like a recruiter first, then you catch yourself and go, nope, that's not an owner mentality, and you change yourself, and then it becomes kind of second nature. So.
It's hard. You know, like Pete said, you're right. It just takes time. But I promise, if you believe that you act the way in which you think, I promise if you act like a business owner, then your business will grow and you'll make the right decisions. If you act like a recruiter when you should be acting like a business owner, then not so much.
Okay, all right. So we're about to go into the first section of 4 tips. Now, as we go through, guys, as always, if you have any questions, if you have any pushback on Mike. He likes it. It's a Christmas present for him. If you have anything that you want us to delve deeper in, please do mention it in the comments. But to begin with, the first section we're going to look at, Mike, is marketing. And we're talking about zero or low cost marketing, aren't we?
Yeah, zero or low cost marketing. Yeah. I mean, some of them have got a little bit of cost attached to them. We have this disagreement because Kirsty thinks I should say low cost.
I do.
When I say zero cost, splitting hairs, I think. Anyway, la-di-da. Okay. We don't expect every one of these to resonate with every person or be used by every person. What we're trying to do is get stuff across you think yes, no, maybe as we go through. So number one, when you're writing job adverts, put what's in it for the candidate at the top and what you want in return at the bottom. I know this has been around for a wee while, but I still see adverts where we want this, that, and the other, and so, this experience, that experience, those skills, yada, yada, yada. This is not good. This is not ADA. This is not the way in which you grab attention, build interest. You do that by talking about what they will get from it. Splits into 2, what they get it from personally. And yes, I know you should put the salary on there, salary bands, guidelines. Mad not to. But also about the EVP, the headlines of the EVP of the company, because we know a lot of people are very interested in the companies they're going to, particularly the things that matter to them. Flexibility is a big thing now, massive thing. So how flexible is the company? What does that look like in terms of where you work and how you work? And also personal development. So lead with those, not at the very top, obviously, that's what the thing you're recruiting for and roughly the company, but underneath that, and then underneath that, you put the stuff that's that stuff that you're looking for to qualify for the role. Okay. Right. Next thing then is if you're struggling to reach somebody, this has got a little cost associated with it. If you're struggling to reach somebody, you can still send things through the post, snail mail. Now, the pushback we get on this, well, first of all, it doesn't work for everybody. I accept that, right? I accept it. But if it works, it really works because people don't get that much mail these days, particularly if they're not in the office all the time. So if you want to do it and you're not sure what day they're in the office or necessarily where they're based, you can ring up the switchboard if you can get a switchboard number and say, I've got to send a package. Package is the operative word. To Pete Ames, could you confirm the address I should send it to and what days he's in the office, because it's coming FedEx and he needs to sign for it. Now, here's the thing really with that. That's hard for them to push back on. They can say no, of course some people do, but in reality it's very hard to do that. And if they question you, well, what is it? I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I've just been told to find out where this is supposed to go and make sure that someone's there to sign for it. Mm-hmm. And there's a very good chance that they'll give you the address at least. The day that they're working is anybody's guess, but most working in the office days are Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So send it so it arrives on one of those.
And don't think anything perishable. Nothing in there that's going to expire within a day, like a cookie or something, you know.
No, let's not do that, you know.
Just on that one, actually, do you remember, Kirsty, when you were younger and had a young person's voice, Mike used to have you ringing up switchboards, sounding all flustered and confused?
Yeah, that was a great thing. I used to ring up and I'd go, hi, can I have the address for so-and-so or the number of so-and-so? And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, oh, well, okay, well, how can I get it? And I feel bad now, but the people on the switchboard were always so lovely. And I was like, can you confirm if it's the right one? And sometimes they'd be like, yeah, we can do that. And it was
basically anyone with a daughter or a son who you want to kill that fear of the phone in. This is a very, very
I think you've been drinking too much of that Christmas coffee of yours. That's what I think.
It's so rummy. I don't.
Yeah, with a bit rummy flavour.
Anyway, so, okay, right. Let's move on to the next one now, guys.
You can send CVs. If you're pitching CVs, you can send CVs in there. They will get looked at. You can send a notification. You're going to give them a call. You can use it lots of different ways. You can even send your pitch if that's your bag. I don't think it works that well, but I'm just saying if you need to get something in front of somebody, then send it through the post. If you really want to get something like one of those video cards, which I have here, which I think you've all seen there or thereabouts, we use them sometimes. Don't know whether you've seen these. Little video comes on any minute now. There it is. Yeah, there you go. Right. So you can film a video, stick it on there, send it FedEx. It's another £6-7, but I'm telling you now, that will find its way to where it's supposed to do, and that will get watched.
And again, with thinking that leadership mentality, £6-7 is a cost, but your return on investment might be a client which is giving you a 30 grand fee.
Oh, and the rest, yeah, lifetime value would be enormous. But that's not one of the original 12 because there's a cost associated with that, and I don't want people splitting hairs with me. So
okay. All right, let's move on to the third thing in marketing, Mike.
Okay, I think there's a load of bunkum about LinkedIn, right? If you're a LinkedIn specialist and you've got loads of time, then post every day, and that's great. In reality, in the real world, post once a week, it's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine, but do it properly. Write your post according to the algorithm. Make it tick all the boxes. If you miss one of the boxes, there's a very good chance that it won't go. Okay, it won't work, it won't fly, and people won't interact with it. But if you do it on Tuesday morning, 7:30-ish in the morning, and then you make it a really good post, you've got all week then to interact with it. It starts to die down after about 3 days. And then the following Monday, you can go through all the interactions, the comments and the likes, and see whether there's anybody in there that you want to interact with. Now, one of our clients, well, several of our clients have been doing this now to great effect. It can rejuvenate lapsed relationships. It can bring people out that you've been connected with and never got to speak to. Whole bunch of stuff. Make the post a good one. Personal is good, but not all the time, obviously. Make sure you properly promote it, properly boost it, and then make sure that you go back in on the following Monday and see who the heck has been interacting with it. I think it's one of the easiest ways to connect with people and start conversations. And someone we have, one of our clients is getting between 3 and 4 sales meetings a week from that. And it's the going through afterwards and sorting people out. And she gets quite a few interactions on her posts. So this thing of posting every day, it's more effort, and it actually reduces the effectiveness of the post, doesn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So when the LinkedIn algorithm won't put your post in a feed with another of your posts. So if Kirsty logs in, she'll see one thing from Mike. She won't see 2 or 3, just one. Oh. So when you add a new one, you're basically fighting yourself for a position in someone's feed. And I think one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen is I had someone who had this they'd managed to take something which was very closely related to recruitment, pretty much viral. It was getting really good traction. And then the next day, because that's what they did, they posted something else, big fat go. And it just killed it. It just killed this beautiful post, which was so full of potential. I agree with you, Mike. I think once a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays are quite nice. I quite like Thursdays because I think some people do use LinkedIn as a social media platform over the weekends, and it's got life then, and you can pick stuff up on a Monday. It's a good thing to do on a Monday. So Thursday is my favorite day, but Wednesday is technically the best day, I think, depending on the research.
Yeah, I do Tuesday because it's convenient to me, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our last point because we've got a lot to get to. Our last point, and I know, Pete, you're going to have opinions on this, but what's our last point, Mike?
Okay, so we always talk about chunky content. That's content that's got some real bite to it. So it's not just a LinkedIn post you've thought up, whacked it together and stuck it out, or something you put through ChatGPT or whatever. This has got some real chunk to it. You put some time to think about the subject to make sure the subject is relevant to your audience because you've spoken to people and they said it is. Perhaps it's an interview of someone, or perhaps it's some research that you've done. But one real quick way to produce lower level but still chunky content is to interview someone on video. If they'll let you, stick it onto your YouTube channel. If they won't let you, then do, as I'm going to show you an example in a minute, put it through an AI. We use Copilot, and I got it to reduce it to 1,000 words or whatever it was. And now normally what I would do is take that and severely change it to make it mine. So 20% of what you see would be chat, 80% would be me. What I've done on this example is the opposite, to show you the quality of the stuff that AI, Copilot can produce if you let it. This is about 80% chat and about 20% me. So Kirsty will put a link in if you want to see the sort of things that it does. But as you can see here, it's quite a chunky interview. Chat did all of this, or AI did all of this, and it's on a particularly interesting subject. Okay, that's a piece of chunky content. If somebody's talking to me now about the difference between 360 and layered, I don't have to talk about my own experiences. I can point them towards somebody who's gone through that process. Now, it was a silly example. He's a great guy, Mike, and it's a great read, actually, if you're interested in it. But anything that your audience is interested in, if you can get somebody like them to talk on it, then you can record it, take the transcript, put it through an AI, and it will produce for you a post. And we've had some good results from this in the past, haven't we, Pete?
Yeah, we have. It's my favorite way for someone to get started with content, because there's so many other hurdles in the way, right? It's not live. You can do it either video or written. So you can kind of get two pieces of content almost for one. And it doesn't require a lot of personal creativity, because, not everybody is a great natural writer. But most of us in recruitment are very good at asking penetrating questions. It comes from that, candidate qualification background. So it's a skill that really aligns with recruitment. The trick, I think, when I see ranges of success and failure with this approach, it's all about knowing that the subject is of interest to the client base, the target base. Too often I see people, the biggest mistake I see is they go, I know about this, so I'll talk about it. Yeah, that's great. But if the audience don't care, don't do it. So a bit of time invested to understand what is truly of interest to your audience. And on this one, I wouldn't look at core problems. The sales leader of an organization's core problem is to grow sales. Look for the frustrations and the distractions around the edges. Frustrations, email open rates are down. That's way beneath my pay grade. I have no idea how to fix it, but I want it fixed. Distraction would be GDPR when it came in. No value. It doesn't do anything, but I have to think about it. I have to talk about it.
An example, and I know we need to move on then, but as an example, we've got some great shows coming next year. And they're coming from conversations that we've had. So the first one in January, we'll talk about that later, but how to build an RPO, little mini RPO service. Then we've got somebody talking about how to get emails to come through. There's been some changes there. So these are all conversations that people have been having. And what we choose to do is put it through our show like this. You don't have to do that. You can just record it on Teams, and you can either turn it into a written document like that, or alternatively, you can put the recording onto your YouTube channel. Instant content. And if you're looking for instant content, no better than this.
Indeed. Okay, right. So if I could just summarize them for everyone in marketing, put what's in it for the candidate at the top of the advert. Then we want to, if your market is in the office, snail mail is a great way to kind of differentiate yourself. Posting once a week is all you need to do. Save yourself some time, let your post run, get the most value from it. Posting once a week is ideal, and produce some chunky content that you can use. Now, in a second, we're going to move on to business development. But before then, Mike, I believe it's time for a message from our sponsor.
Yes, it is actually. If you're looking for finance, then if you're sensible, what you'll do is engage the finance provider long time before you actually need them. Okay, that's always the best thing to do when you've got time to negotiate, when you've got time to look at options and come in well in advance. Get it signed up and ready in case you need it. But very often people don't do that. And one of the things that Rich Beresford of our sponsors, Giant, was telling me recently was the story of someone that rang him up on a Tuesday night. So someone he'd been talking to for quite a while, trying to get them to kind of come on board. I need finance in place in 24 hours. Basically, he'd run out of money. And Rich managed to put that in place. Now, there was a caveat to that. He wanted me to point out they did operate with another part of the business, nothing to do with Rich, but they were another part of the Giant business, which speeded it up. But nonetheless, the speed of response was impressive. And I think if you're looking for a finance partner, speed of response is a very important thing. And I can't recommend more our partners, Giant Finance. And if you're really interested to talk to someone, then we put Rich's contact details in the post associated with this presentation. And if you're looking for finance, I would give Rich a call, see where it takes you.
Okay, fantastic. Right, now, as promised, we are about to move on to business development. I know everyone's very excited about this because it's been a bit rough of late, Mike. I'll tell you that.
It's been tough, yeah. It's been tough out there, and I really don't know whether next year is going to be any better or not. I mean, it was a very, very poor budget. There's turmoil in Europe, in France, and in Germany. The Americans, God knows what Tariff Trump's going to do. Who knows? So there's a lot of uncertainty, and business doesn't like uncertainty. So we don't know. But I think we have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's business owner mentality right there. That I see it sometimes. I've got to just tell you, someone says something which could be the case, but it's a bit negative, right? You should be aware of it. And it's like, well, all this negative naysaying. No. As a business owner, you have to understand all the risks and try and mitigate them as much as you can. And so this is one of them, right? So got 4 things for you. Again, small things. Hopefully one of them, 2 of them will resonate with you. Number 1, if you wanted to connect with people on LinkedIn who you think might be good clients, the best thing to do is to go through the posts of your competitors to see who has liked and commented on them. And if you think they'd be of interest to you, invite them to connect. I just press like invite, just connect. That's it, really. Bit of a numbers game, I suppose, in that respect. There's a lot of people out there I can be connected to. If you're in a much, much smaller market, you might like to put an invitation message on the connection request, which relates to the post. You know, I saw you like so-and-so's post in this, that, and the other. I'm interested in that subject as well. I thought it might be useful to connect because of our shared interests or something of that nature. It is the single best way I know to find people, A, who are active on LinkedIn, which is what you want, and B, who are in the space that you want, potential clients. So that, I think, is a relatively easy one. And again, if you're making a reasonable post each month, there's a very good chance that LinkedIn will show that post. That's right, isn't it, Pete? They show that post to new connections.
Yes, yeah, they will.
Yeah. Okay, and that's something nice and easy that you can do whilst you're watching TV or waiting for the kettle to boil. So I'm a big
there's no extra effort on that, really. It's one of those small inputs, big outputs activities that you can do.
Okay, Mike, let's move on to the next point in BD.
Okay, I think we're all interested in sales, and the next 2 points are both related, actually. If you ring up and the narrative is, can I recruit for you? Can we do business? You know, can you give me some money in exchange for my recruitment services? Which is a fair enough question, I think. Everything has to line up for that to work. So they've got to have a vacancy. Their current suppliers aren't delivering. They can have the ability to take another supplier outside the list. They've got time to talk to you. And for whatever reason, you say something that passes the so what test. I mean, there's a lot of ticks that have boxes that have to be ticked in there for you to be given the chance. So I'm not saying don't do it. Go for it, especially if it works for you. But it is quite difficult, really, to get just somebody just at the right time. So if you change the narrative away from can I sell to you to can I help you, especially if you've been producing a bit of chunky content on a subject that you know your demographic, your community, the target market that you go for is interested in, there is a very good chance that you'll get a little bit more time. And at the end of the call, if you want to, if you're keen to get business now, you can turn it round and see if they've got any vacancies that you can help with now. But you're demonstrating you're different by what you say, because everyone says that, we're different. We're different. I don't know whether, has anyone out there actually used recruitment companies? Not Rec2X, because people use Rec2X, but recruitment companies, because I used to be, on 2 separate occasions, I've been the target of the recruiters, the person who looked after CVs coming in and decided who was interviewed. And it's amazing experience to do that, because you realize that a lot of the things you think you can say and be original, everybody's saying them. We're different to all the rest. You know, we're non-transactional, we're all about relationships. That may or may not be true, but everybody's saying it, so it kind of nullifies it a little bit.
So that chunky content really comes in and helps with that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. It just changes the conversation. The other thing that you can use is research. So, for example, you can say that, I don't know, between 44 and 82%, it's really big numbers. The research is out there, right? Between 44 and 82% of candidates will say no to an offer because of the interview experience they had. So let's just think what that means. So basically what you're saying is, okay, so it went all the way through. You wanted them. They were the right candidate. You made them an offer and they turned it down, not because of the job or particularly because of the company, but that experience, which you, by the way, and the client have got 100% control over, was rubbish.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So,
fantastic. So what's the next one, Mike? Because I'm very conscious of time.
okay. I'm going to get Pete to do this one. So this is a quick one that we can do real quick. And it's the difference between NPCs and exec NPCs.
Yes. So NPC, we all know this, most placeable candidate, specking, lots of different names, fundamentally the same thing. I've got someone I think is pretty good, so I'll fire them out to as many people as I can. Very good chance that you're not the only person that person's speaking to. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. And thus it just loses its power a little bit. It can be more powerful when you approach people, and more powerful because you truly are, when you have an exclusive relationship with that candidate. So this is someone who is very good, and you approach them and you are effectively offering them a service. We ask permission to spec candidates. We offer a service to the exclusive ones, along the lines of a sports agent saying, look, you want a role, I will represent you out to all of the firms that you would like to try and investigate if there's an opportunity. But what I need is I need exclusivity. I need to know that I'm the only person representing to you. Otherwise, we're both going to look foolish. So for 2 weeks, can I be your agent effectively? And you take them to market in that context. And then your statement to people is, as Mike said, it's just a little bit different. I'm representing this individual. They've given me 2 weeks, exclusivity. I'm taking them to a limited number of people that they've identified because they really like the nature. You can see how it immediately sounds different to, I've got a CV.
And they're not on the market. They're not on the market.
They're not actively looking. You will not find this CV anywhere else. It is not with any other people. Would you like to know some more details?
We've got someone coming on the show in a few weeks' time, and that's their only business development method.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. I do like that one.
I know we need to move on, but the next one's quite a quick one, but I just want to zero in on this. You have to get it right. You have to develop your pitch for it. But when you do, it has much more power than just an NPC. So,
okay, fantastic.
It gets you the better, bigger people. That's the key thing as well. The superstars.
That's what we like to hear. Okay, final one in BD then, Mike.
Okay, so I've touched upon it before, is that you can say you're different, but the approach itself has to be different, the conversation. And for example, we've got one of our clients, solopreneur, many of our clients are solopreneurs on the Recruitment Pioneers side. And there's a big thing there, trying to make yourselves look bigger than you really are. You use the word, we do this and we do that, but it's only you really. You might have some support person in India. But actually it stands out if you say, no, it's me. You buy me. There's only me. I have a little support team, but it's me. Every time you see it's me. You're buying all my experience, you're buying my knowledge, my commitment. And I know I'm too small not to have a good reputation out there. The other thing is owning up to things that are perceived to be weaknesses. So you've got a client, Pete, that's rubbish at sales, and he tried to hide it to begin with, didn't he?
Yeah, he did try to blast through it. And I was like, people don't like recruiters sometimes because they're so salesy. So I lean into it because he's got a phenomenal experience as a delivery person, phenomenal network. And as we've discussed on so many of our, the things we do with people, especially when building campaigns, you've got to stand out in the first few seconds. You've got to stand out. And for him, just going, look, I'll be honest, I'm a terrible salesperson when you give me 30 seconds. And, it works. It doesn't work every time, of course not. But it works for him better than trying to apply what you might call more traditional sales tactics to get attention.
It's authentic because he is rubbish at sales. But again, this is that permission sales that we talk about quite a bit. There's enough intrigue to give me another 30 seconds. And I'll say in that to give me another 30 seconds. And eventually you've got a conversation, then you can stretch it out a bit longer. But it's getting that conversation if you're doing a cold call or even a warm call. At the very beginning, it's getting enough to be able to get enough interest, get a beachhead of interest that you can then move forward from. And these are the sort of things that make a big difference.
Okay, all right. So if I can summarize BD then, regularly go into the posts of your competitors. You can find potential candidates or clients and connect with them and then build that relationship that way. It kind of helps you to find people you're interested in. Move away from can I sell to you to how can I help you? And a great way to do that is with content and to kind of think about the problems that people are having. Move away from just NPC and start thinking about this exclusive NPC. Think of yourself as an agent for this candidate. So you can go in and say, this candidate isn't on the market. They're great. You can get them early. They'll only come through me, essentially. And stand out by your approach. You know, if you have a little bit of a differentiation, if it is just you, there's a lot of experience, there's quality control that goes on in there. Embrace it, open up with it, and just try stuff, because something's going to work. It's, you know,
well, just on that, you should draw on the sense that you do have, and he had 50,000 people of a particular type in his network, and he placed over 500 people with that particular skill. So he wanted to get to that conversation as quick as he could. And what got him there was the admission that I'm rubbish at sales, I'll mess this up, but please give me 30 seconds to explain what I'm about. And you're in.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, let's move on.
We are in our final section now, which is client care, which I think next year, when everyone's going to get aggressive, is going to be more and more powerful.
Client care is very important, yeah. And there's a big difference between client care and account management. They're not the same thing. So account management is basically a commercial relationship, trying to get business out of them, sorting problems out, making placements, yada, yada, yada. Whereas client care is how you make them feel. And if you want to make people feel special, there's two things that you can do. So 1 and 2 here. Number 1 is you can learn information about them as people. It's called Pacific Information. It's the acronym. And I should have had a screen for this, but I haven't. But if you're listening to it, wouldn't have made much difference, would it really? So I'm going to spell out what Pacific means, and I'm going to share with you what you do with it. So preferences, aspirations, challenges, interests, family, incidentals, and circumstantials, right? Do you know what? Just focus on preferences and interests. Great start. Understand what people's preferences are. Do they prefer to go out for a lunch or a coffee, or do they prefer, you know, this drink over that drink, or do they whatever
in the morning or a call late at night?
Yeah, what, you know, I'd like to be contacted by email, by telephone, whatever, right? And interests, obviously, because what you can do is you can begin to build on that spark off it. If you don't know it, you can't move out of the client zone and into the friend zone. So my number 1 and number 2 are 26 non-operational interactions a year will build a relationship, and 26 non-operational interactions a year will keep that relationship strong. So a non-operational interaction is anything that's not related to the business. So not placing candidates or looking at CVs or asking for business, all operational. We're talking about relationship-driven stuff that wraps around Pacific data, really. Now, 26 sounds a lot, but it's 4 scheduled. It's 12 on some sort of email, a mailing list or a newsletter or something, and the rest are just social media, comments, likes, that kind of thing. It's not difficult to get 26, actually, when you think about it. So long as they're non-operational, they'll have that effect. It's very powerful stuff. And wrap it around Pacific data, particularly preferences and interests. Now, the next thing, the third one in this block, is VOTC, but a special kind of VOTC. I'll just explain what it is, and I'm going to ask Pete to just drill down on this a little bit. VOTC is voice of the customer, simply asking your clients and your candidates or contractors what they think of you in a way that encourages criticism. Now, we've got a big project on it, on our breakthrough program, but actually there's something very simple that people can do, isn't there, Pete?
There is, yes. And so many people say we used to do that when I talk about this, right? And it should never be turned off because it's so easy to run once it's set up. It is essentially to send questionnaires to people. Now, there's questionnaires and there's questionnaires, right? So I think if you're going to do this, try and resist the urge to write, well, how good are we? On a scale of 1 to 5, right? Oh, you want me to say good, don't you, right? Write your questionnaires in a way that is truly interested in the quality of your service to your candidates and to your clients. Rate us out of 10. That's the way all those questions should be formulated. And you ask it around 2 or 3 things you know are important. And what it's going to do is it's going to do 2 things, right? Number 1, it sends the right message. We care about quality. The way we ask these questions, the nature of the questions we ask, we clearly care about quality. And 2, if there are any issues in the way you're delivering your service and they creep in as you grow. So if you're hiring people, bringing people in, you don't know exactly what they're doing. This is a way to make sure they're not delivering in a way that upsets or bothers clients. It allows you to pick up It's not 8 out of 10, it's 6 out of 10 now. I don't like that. Let's find out why. So you can move from this electronic outreach to a phone call, but you do it as and when it's needed. So it protects you, protects your service, protects the quality and the reputation of your brand. And it sends a really strong message around quality. And it's so easy to run once it's set up.
And you'll get some good ideas from time to time, won't you? You will get some good ideas from time to time as well.
Sometimes, if you are asking the right questions, ones that invite a little bit of feedback, and they're small and they're focused, you will pick up a suggestion or the hint of a place to improve, which is sometimes all you need.
Just before we finish, I've got one more to go. Just one more on that EVP thing. If you're going to do it, very simple. We use Survey Hero. You can use Survey Monkey or whatever. It's free or very low cost, I think, if it's under a certain amount that you use. Survey Hero, I think, is free at the beginning. And it's 3 questions, really. What did we do well? What could we do better? And on a scale of 10, between 1 being not nowhere near and 10 being absolutely, how close are we to being your first choice supplier? If you want to add an addendum to that, and what could we do to get a bit closer to it, that's entirely up to you. That's a great start. Every time a piece of work finishes, you send it out to the contractors, candidates, and to the clients. And just that alone, that can be one of your touch points. It's kind of operational, but it's far enough away to make it a touch point. Okay, thanks for that, Pete. Now, one last thing on client care. We talk about adding value to people, and it's one way we can differentiate ourselves from everybody else who's just trying to do business and make money and take, is to add value. The way around that is to have conversations with people. We know that. Telephone conversations, if you can get them, or in person, if you can get them. But also you can do it from social media, but you must find out what people are interested in. The way we suggest that people start with that is look for, not for problems, as Pete said earlier, but look instead for frustrations. Things they're not entirely happy with. Oh, this has happened or that's happened. And then you look for a way to scratch that itch. Now, it could be a piece of content that you've produced. It doesn't have to be. It can just be a blog post that you found or a YouTube video that actually deals with that problem. Just connecting up a solution to a frustration will just separate you out just that little bit further, which ultimately is what it's all about.
Okay, all right. So if I can summarize client care, you want to have 26 non-operational interactions a year, and to kind of make them even more powerful, use that specific data, but specifically the preferences and interests to kind of make sure that you get the most bang for your buck. Run a VOTC survey, which is a voice of the customer, and just understand where you're sitting in that. And you can escalate it, as Pete said, to a phone call if you need to. And finally, think frustrations, not problems. Now, client care next year, you're going to have clients that are giving you jobs are going to be attacked by your competitors because they're going to want the jobs, and clients who aren't, you want to make sure that you're number one when they do have a job. So that's why client care is so important. So those are the 12 tips. If you could, in the comments, let us know out of those 12, which ones resonated with you that you're going to think, I'm doing that next year.
Just your number one. Just the number one.
Just your number one. Let us know that. Okay. In a second, Mike, I'm going to come to you for the top tip, but we've got a couple of things to cover first. First, our first show back in January is, I believe, about RPOs.
Yes, it is. RPO is a way of controlling a client, basically, because you get all the vacancies either for a period of time or for an agreed project. And you, therefore, are in control of the placement process. We always think of RPO as being for big companies in big companies, but actually there's a growth now in small RPOs or even project-based RPOs. And Jamie Stevenson, who's one of our clients, has been running this for a few years now, and he's got it just so it works a treat. So he's going to talk about how you build them and how you sell them and how you run them. Big plus is not just you get all the vacancies, but also it just puts off the chance that that client is going to take a TA or revisit their preferred supplier list and go for a main supplier approach. So it's very powerful, and you should attend if you're interested in RPOs in the slightest.
Fantastic. Okay. And Peter, can you update us about what's happening with the charity draw? Because we've had some technical hitches.
Yes, we have. Yes, the random number generator we tried so carefully to set up didn't work when I just did a quick trial run earlier. So I want to make sure it is truly fair. For those that don't know what this is, by the way, so we are running a survey of recruitment owners to understand next year what are the spheres of interest you would like to see more content around. In that, there is the option to submit your details, and you get entered to a draw £150 to a charity of your choice. We've had some lovely charities. It's heartwarming to see the range from the big, classic cancer trust research all the way down to little local things. And we want to run that draw. So we are going to make sure it's done fairly and properly, which means we're going to do it, I think, on Thursday as a little one-off. We'll go live. We'll do the draw. People will be told. And then we'll move forwards and make that donation for people. If anybody wants to take advantage of this extra few days, didn't know about this, I think we have popped a little something in the chat, Mike. Is that right? Yes, I think we have.
Yeah, we will very soon. And if you fill it in, it's anonymous. We just want to know about your content ideas because we want to produce content that relates to you very much so. And then if you want to, you can put your name and the charity of your choice, and you'll go into the draw then to get the 150 smackaroos for the charity who wins.
Very nice for the before Christmas. And Estelle has said, thanks so much. It's triggered thoughts and things that she's been doing already. Client care needs attention. She really likes the survey. I think I think a lot of people are going to be in that space. So I think, Mike, we have come to the end of the show, our last show of the year. We've come to the end. Do you want to take us out?
I do, yeah. I'll close with my top tip, and then I'll just finish off. Really, my top tip is that survey. Actually, yeah. Sorry, yeah. I know, yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, yeah. Change your mind when she just said it. Estelle said it. I was going to go for the LinkedIn things, and that's fine. But the survey has the biggest impact. I think sends the biggest message, has the biggest impact. Doesn't cost any money. You can outsource it if you want to someone to run it. It's no big deal. So I would go with that. Okay, well, look, thank you very much, one and all. First of all, let me thank Kirsty, who's the hostess with the mostess, who supports me and makes the whole Kirsty Ames show, Mike Ames show work. So thank you very much, Kirsty. Thank you today, Peter, for coming on and being our support, our wingman in there.
Pleasure.
Mostly, I want to thank everybody that comes to this show. We have seen a massive growth in our viewers and our listeners this year. It's been huge. It's been several 100%. And I hope that you continue to support us next year as we move into what could be a very interesting year. We've got some great shows coming up, and we're going to slightly change how we do things. We're going to put them all onto the LinkedIn page, and so you can see all of them. You can register for whatever you want, so they'll all be there as we book them. So plenty of good stuff coming. So all that remains for me is to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we collectively, the Fair Team, will see you in January.